don't circle people's names and be like, all right, this is my person of interest. Like, I'm going to hit him or her up or them up. You know,
Call sheet is not a tool for your dating life. What is a call sheet and how do we read it?
hey, what's going on, everybody? My name is Brandon Diet. I am a producer for film and television.
And I am Gabrielle Pickle, and I am a line producer and producer for film.
Yeah, so we produce things. So if this is the first time that you are watching with us, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, because the more action that we get on this video, the more likely we're going to put out more content.
Let's jump in. Brandon, did you ever have any mistakes when reading call sheet in your entire career?
I don't think that I've ever misread a call sheet, but I have accidentally put down a wrong address. And it was a difference between north and south. So I had typed in North 10th Street, let's just say, for example, because I'm not going to give away where it happened because then it implicates me. So North 10th Street, right? And everybody put it in North 10th Street, and they showed up, and I'm at the location, and I'm like, where is everybody? And they're like, we're at North 10th Street. And I was like, no, it's south. Oh my goodness. Luckily, they weren't too far away from each other. So it was just about a half an hour that we were behind, but then we caught up. So we were fine. But yeah, I mean, errors happen all the time. People reading it wrong, not knowing where to go, not knowing, looking at the call sheet and then looking at your name and then looking at the wrong call time because your finger kind of moves to the next line above. Your call time is at 7, but the person above you is at 9 o'clock, and you're following on your finger. You're like, oh, I don't have to be in until 9 o'clock. Then you get a call at 7:05, and they're like, where are you?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh, I'm 2 hours away. So
Yeah.
What about you?
Well, I remember the most financially impactful mistake that was made by several departments was on one feature, and our first day was by far our hardest day because we had a company move and the call time for everybody was 3 a.m. So I'm there at 1:30 and people arrive, everybody shows up. We were able to get things because we had to be out by 8 when the whatever location opened. And so everything went well, and then everybody got in their cars to move to our primary location. And not only was it city traffic at that time, but most of the people put in the wrong address and went to the production office instead of the location. And so we had entire departments that were an hour behind. And we ended up sitting for 3 hours waiting for everybody to find their way. And all of us on the phone tried to talk. All that to say, I and my anxiety, who we call Glinda, read our call sheet probably 25 times every day before I go to set, just to make sure I know location 1, location 2, where is parking, because there's a bunch of different addresses. There's a bunch of information. All the information you need for the day is in the call sheet and the call sheet email. I review it often, every 10 minutes sometimes, just to make sure that I understand where I'm going, what I'm doing, what time, etc.
Mistakes do happen.
Mm-hmm.
So what we want to cover today is how to avoid those mistakes. 1, 2, what is a call sheet? What does it look like? What is the purpose of it? And 3, if you notice any errors on it, who to talk to, because sometimes you'll look at your own name and your phone number and your email address or whatever it is. Your name is Brian, but it says Brianne. Those are 2 very, very different people.
And Brianne will get the credit on IMDb.
Brianne will. Good for her. Good for them.
Yeah.
So
your call sheet, we actually have a couple of samples for you guys to download and look at and potentially even use for your own projects. We have one that is kind of more industry standard, like the long form union call sheet. And we also have a shorter form commercial/reality call sheet. And then something you can use for non-union, smaller.
You'll be able to download it.
Yeah. So call sheet, all the information you need for the day. When it said there's a beautiful big time in the center and it's general crew call, that does not mean it's your call at all. Wow, that all rhymed. I'm so impressed with myself. You have to look at the back of the call sheet because typically PAs are first in, last out. And you don't know if you're on more of the first in rotation or the last out rotation. And you have to check your name because the general crew call is typically not for you. It's typically also not for me. So, yeah, just knowing that going in, that when it says 8 a.m., that's not for you.
Yeah, and so at the top of the sheet, you're going to have a lot of pertinent information. One, the name of the show or the name of the film that you are working on. If it comes across and it's not the right one, they might have sent the wrong call sheet out. So that's like, glaring error number one. So make sure that at the top it says title or, name, or just has the actual film name. Like it could say Kitty, brought to you by Brennan Diet. But, it'll say the name of the actual film or show. And then it'll have the date that you are filming. Also, the day number. So it could be, film day number 20 out of 35. So that you know where you are within the sequence of filming. And it helps keep everybody on track. So it should have the date, and it should also have your production office information. So what is the production office?
The production office is kind of your office information hub. Those are people that can help you out with questions. I would still run them through whoever hired you first. But the office can often help with vendors, with organization of things. All paperwork touches the production office at some point. And they are typically, well, it depends on the size of the show, but if it's a union gig, the ADs create the call sheet and it goes to the production office to be put together in the call sheet email and then sent out to everyone. So if you have questions, most often, if you respond to a call sheet email, it's going back to the coordinator, or it's not APOC anymore, assistant coordinator, secretary, etc., to answer your questions. So if there's something that's unclear or something that is incorrect, you can let them know, a spelling error, whatnot. You can just, very nicely let them know. Sometimes it gets changed and sometimes it does not. You can still ask for it, though.
So the production office, also affectionately known as the PO,
yeah,
just in case you're on set and somebody says, hey, can you run to the PO? That's not the post office, because that is the
very good.
Did you think that? Because I'm gonna
No, I did not.
I definitely did.
I came from different industries, so when I heard PO, I thought purchase order, which is an accounting term, which is also a very real term in film. But if they say run to the PO versus run this, get me a PO number, those mean two different things. So it's all about context.
Yeah, and so the production office, I mean, it could be a rented out space that you use temporarily throughout the film or the show. And it's usually like a smaller version of the main hub office that might be in LA or New York. But the production office itself, that's where a lot of the office staff are. So you have your...
Also accounting is typically there.
And your accounting is what I was going to say. Perfect. Yeah, your UPM can sometimes work out of there or on set, or a trailer on set. It just depends on the size of the production.
Yeah.
It really, tells you how big.
Yeah, and if you're doing running as your job as a PA, it is very often, very likely that you will be going to the PO to pick up things, because they will go and actually purchase things potentially, or have paperwork or lots of things printed or new walkies, etc. But you will go to the PO and pick them up and bring them back to set.
Yeah, because they could say, hey, we are changing script color because we have new revisions. So somebody has to run over to the PO, because that's typically where they print things out.
That's where the big printers are. Yeah.
You grab that, bring it back to set, you're all set. So
another thing I wanted to point out on the call sheet that is often overlooked, in the upper left-hand corner, you have all the important names. And those are worth not necessarily memorizing, but familiarizing yourself with. Because if someone introduces himself and says, hey, I'm Brandon, and you're like, oh, are you the Brandon that's on the top of the call sheet? That would be a really good thing to connect the dots per, previous story over here.
Yeah, so that's a really good thing. In the upper left-hand corner, it'll say like your executives, producers, line, just like the main people.
All the producers, your line producer, and your director, and sometimes writers, depending on the show.
Yep. Also, here is a tip and a trick that a lot of people don't do. Look at the call sheet. Look at the person's name. then go and search for them. Look for them on LinkedIn, IMDb, their socials.
And put a face with their name.
You want to put a face, and then also to kind of see what they've done as well, because you might look at something and be like, I don't know who Tim John's Bob is. His name's Bob Dean. Bob Jean. Was that the name of it? Bob Jean.
I don't know. It was bad. But...
Yeah. But you don't know who they are. And then come to find out, they literally just won the Academy Award last week. You know, it's like, oh, well, maybe I should have known who that person is. And it's also kind of really good for your career, too. If you look at a call sheet and you see on your executive side, oh, this is an award winner or something like that, gives you a little bit of clout.
Yeah.
So,
and if you ever get FaceTime with them or anything, being able to ask them about it, it will help you be memorable to them.
Yeah.
So other things on the top of the call sheet, you typically have your weather for the day. That is something to pay attention to because it will help you know the types of layers. I still always say whether cold or hot, you should have multiple layers because you just don't know. You will be sweating and it will be 20 degrees outside, or you will be sweating and it will be 105 degrees outside. What you need to prepare for that is going to be different. So make sure you're looking at the weather. And ADs specifically look at the weather at the location of filming, not necessarily the location where you live. So when you check it on your phone, it might look different and might have a different chance of rain or whatnot. What's on the call sheet is for your location filming. So just be aware of that. Another thing is hospital. It is the nearest hospital. And if you don't have like a paper copy with you, I always take a screen grab on my phone just in case my data dies or there's no signal and I can't access the email over and over again. Because if something happens and you were asked to drive or you need to get yourself or whatnot, like the nearest hospital, it's very important to have that information. Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of the weather, we all have, for the most part, phones that have weather data on there. And like Gabby said, it pertains to the specific location that you're going to. So if you are trying to keep up to the last minute of like what the weather conditions are going to be, just for your or if you're the location person or whatever it might be, you're going to want to make sure that you put in the address, the location in your phone, in the weather app, so that it picks up that information rather than where you are. Because, I mean, I know in Georgia or even in Florida, literally everywhere that I film across the country, you could be 30 minutes outside of your location and have clear, sunny skies, and then you show up to location, it's 20 degrees less than where you were before, and it's raining. Yeah. And you didn't think anything of that because you didn't check.
I shot a film that was in a weird weather pocket under a mountain. And because of that, it rained at like 80% more frequency than everything else around it. And I mean, it was literally like this very small collection of farms that we were filming on. And everywhere else, like you drive into town 7 minutes this way or 15 minutes that way, and it's not raining. But where we were, it was raining all the time. And the locals had to be the one to tell us about that. Yeah. So you just never know.
Also, with the hospital information, you'll usually have your set medics information. One, familiarize yourself with who that person is or people are. Identify them so you know who to look for in case of an emergency. So.
And also in case of non-emergencies. So medics are there to make our lives a little bit more comfortable as well. They typically have sunscreen, bug spray, Advil. They can help you with a cut, like you got a paper cut that's bleeding or whatnot. Like, sorry. They have Band-Aids, etc. And sometimes I've had medics that are very big on hydration. Like they'll carry hydration tablets and give those out to the crew. So if there's anything that you need, ask them. It's always, you can always walkie them. Make sure to say non-emergency, but you can walkie them, ask for go to ask them for different things. I do it on the regular because I don't know if you can tell, but I burn. And so typically my set medics from day one will literally walk up and just be like every hour, turn around, because they know I'm just going to turn into a crisp and die on the street. So they're there to support you in any way that they can. So make sure you utilize that.
So going down the call sheet, next up would be talent information. So it'll have, the name of the talent, the role that they're playing. It'll also say like what their pickup time is, probably their, wardrobe, getting ready, hair and makeup time, and, just that general information. It
Which
will,
is important if you're working at base camp, like knowing those times and knowing when to expect them, and then being able to say, okay, talent number 2 is not here and they were expected, 2 minutes ago. I will keep you posted every 5 minutes as it gets later, because it will go further and further up the chain as they try to wrangle this person to arriving on time or figuring out what's happened.
what is the longest amount of time that you've had to wait for talent?
They just didn't come all day.
Okay, well, there's that one. Without, I would subside that.
I would say around like an hour, hour and a half.
The longest that I ever had was 7.5 hours.
I, as a producer, would be sitting outside of their house.
We were. I mean, it wasn't me that was doing that. The talent producer, wrangler, was handling it. And when this person eventually showed up to set, we had already been there for 10 hours, because we got there 3 hours before that person's call time to get everybody situated. That day ended up being, I think it was like a 19-hour day. I don't know if that's even legal, but we all worked a really, really long time. And then we ended up having to do only an 8-hour turnaround. So a lot of these things have changed as far as rules and regulations, especially over the past 5 years with COVID and just set safety, everything like that. It's really changed, and I'm happy the direction in which we're going with that stuff. So after the talent, you will have your schedule.
Yeah.
So the schedule will just break down high overview of the different things that are happening throughout the day. So
it's literally if you had the whole schedule, which you will hear people talk about the schedule, you probably will not be given a copy or have access to it for privacy reasons, but they just take the day that you were shooting, that goes into your call sheet, and it has all of your normal schedule elements telling you whether it's interior, exterior, day or night, the set, which cast. So knowing the cast numbers, if you're working in and around cast and base camp, getting those memorized pretty quickly is important, because on the actual scene breakdown, you're going to see the numbers. If there is just a general number, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's a typical cast. If it goes to 101, 102, or an X, that's typically stunts. So you can just kind of learn some of that lingo and be prepared to know who is going to need to be in that scene. It just helps you be a little bit more prepared for what people are going to ask you to do and who you might be wrangling that day.
Yeah, and so the schedule just breaks down the timing of the day. So it says, if in the beginning of the day they're offering a breakfast crew meal, it'll say that time, so and then there's prep time, and then it shows you the scene. So the scenes that we're shooting in this order, then it'll have your crew meal break. It'll have it in a line item that might not actually be your crew meal break time.
Yeah.
But then it goes all the way to, the scenes after crew meal, and then wrap, and that's the day. So it has it in chronological order, and it shows you the different times, so you have an idea of how the day is running. So crew meal. We stagger people's meals sometimes depending on the size of the crew.
Mm-hmm. And also the different unions and union regulations. Typically, it is industry-wide accepted that you get the production provides a meal every 6 hours. And so you typically start with a non-deductible meal, which is like a breakfast that you are supposed to eat prior to your call time. So if you want to come and sit down in catering and enjoy your meal, get there 15, 20 minutes early. If you are good grabbing a burrito and heading out on your run, then you don't need to be there 15 minutes early. 5 minutes to get in line and get your food. Great. Make sure you eat, because often PAs are put at the end of the line because the people higher up have bigger priorities and need to. It's very much a hierarchy, but make sure you eat. It is very, very important to make sure that you are prepared to do your work for the day. When it comes to lunch, they can call for grace, which is a 15-ish or less minute courtesy, basically, where you're able to finish the shot that you are working on when you hit the lunch hour. But for union shows, it is very strict that lunch must be called, and then lunch is typically your break time, and you may be asked to count last man. And what that is the entire crew has to go through the lunch line, and that last man is the time that you give your AD, and they use that in clocking exactly how much time people have for that sit-down meal. Because last person, if say the first person goes through and the last person comes through an hour and 15 minutes later, you don't immediately go back to work and the first person doesn't get to sit down. Everyone gets at least a 30-minute or 45-minute, depending on your different union rules, break to eat their meal. And so if you're asked to call last man, you're standing beside catering, clocking all of the different people going through and just making sure that the moment the last person goes through, that you have walkied that to the AD team and then go get your food. And if you're asked to do fire watch, which we've discussed in a previous video, make sure you ask the question, who is bringing me food? Would you like me to break early, go get food, and then head back to fire watch? Because I have seen it over and over. PAs get, like, they're asked to do fire watch, and then if you don't have another PA, like, looking at them being like, I need to make sure you eat, then that person may not be thought of because there's so many moving parts and whatnot. And if I am worried about balancing my budget for the day, I'm not necessarily thinking through, did every single one of my crew members and all the way down to my PAs eat that day? But everybody is concerned about that. And it is your right to eat at meal breaks. So oftentimes we do break early. A lot of times you'll see like hair and makeup go through first so that they can go back into the works, which is what we call getting talent through hair and makeup first. So you'll see them potentially break earlier and other people break later and whatnot. It's all around a strategy of how to optimize the day, but make sure you eat.
And if you are the last person in line or so the last people in line and there's not enough food remaining, let somebody know.
Yeah.
Look at your call sheet.
They have to go buy you food.
Mm-hmm. And you could just let the person that's in charge of catering take care of it, or you can tell your production coordinator, UPM, somebody will let the caterers know, hey, we might need to up the quantity of food to make sure that we have enough for everybody to get.
If you're on a lower budget, meaning like, honestly, under 10 million, this is still a thing because your crew is so big. You know, sometimes people come through for seconds. Head counts are hard to balance. It is a constant battle and people run out of food. I typically wait to the very end to make sure there's enough food because I can always, like, if PAs eat and then they can go pick up food for the rest of us and I can eat at whatever point while I am also doing my other line producing or producing duties. Whereas, you know, camera crew and costumes, they can't. They have to get back to work in order to keep the day moving. And so it's just something to kind of keep in your brain, but like, you are entitled to food and you should eat. Please eat. Please eat.
Yeah. So fun tip, do not get in the way of camera crew, gaffers, and grips because they get hangry really, really early. And they're the ones that are completely so focused on set the entire time, right? You know, while they're filming. And then when that break comes, it takes them a little while to actually stop down because they have to turn
You have to make sure everything's safe.
So just keep that in mind. Like Gabby said, like if, you know, I'm one of those people that I go last because of the same exact reason that you said. Like, I could wait, and then worst case scenario, I could just send somebody to get something if they're going out on a run, you know? So then after that is transportation. So it tells you, you know, who's transporting whom. So, you know, it could be cast pickup. It could be, you know.
It could be executives pickup, depending on your show, how small to big.
If you're shooting on location and everybody's staying at a hotel, it'll have like your 15 pass van.
Like we're leaving at every 15-minute intervals and whatnot, depending on how far the location is. And so if you are having to take transpo versus taking your own car, then typically you are on one of the very first ones. And if it's something where you have to be the first one to open it up or make sure you're there to do runs, like communicating that to your drivers that like, hey, I'm on the call sheet for 5:30. It's now 5, o'clock. I just want to make sure we're leaving in time to get me there for my call time, which they understand.
Yeah. And then
they're not going to know your call time.
No. And then after that, you will have your department elements and notes section. So it'll say in there, like, we have stunts today. You know, there's some kind of pyrotechnics that's happening or any type of special notes that really just need to be paid attention to for like hair, makeup, costume. set design. And then also it'll say, if there's like a general note, it'll make sure that you know that there's a company move at some point in time of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So those are just really important just to look at so that you kind of get a knowing and feeling of how the whole day is going to operate.
And in your call sheet, so on the call sheet, when you're looking at the elements, if it says stunts and pyrotechnics, etc., is happening today, then in your call sheet email, you should have safety bulletins for each one of those items. And we're going to go over safety bulletins in detail a little bit later, but do a double check. If there's not, feel free to ask, because it is industry standard that these safety bulletins, they're free to use and they should be attached to a call sheet and you should read them.
And then right below that will be your advanced schedule. So it's going to let you know what the next shoot day is going to entail.
Whether you're on it or not, it's always great information to have.
Yep. And then on the backside.
Well, at the bottom,
yeah,
you're going to have your contacts, which it varies depending on how the production wants to do it. It could be one of your ADs, like your second AD. It could be your UPM. It could be a location contact. It could be an office contact. But those are the people there. If you get lost, if something goes horribly wrong, you're in a car wreck on your way to set and you can't get your boss on the phone, you should tell them, but you should also alert the general call sheet people of like, this is what has happened. Their phone numbers are there for emergencies. This is not for texting, asking for jobs, etc., which we're going to get into in a minute.
Yeah. And on the backside will be the entire crew list. So it has it broken down by department. So like these are all the PAs. You'll have your key PA written on there. You'll have your UPM. You'll have your camera department, costume department, greenery department, and all the people listed underneath. They typically will have, their call time in there and a phone number or an email or whatever it is.
It depends on the call sheet.
Yeah.
If you're on reality and commercial, it has all of their contact information. If you're on film or like TV, it has none. There is a separate crew list.
Yep.
And you may not be given access to a separate crew list. And that's just their like privacy policy.
Yes. And so speaking of which, it's about privacy. So if you are given access to this information, i.e. people's phone numbers, email addresses, especially when it comes to talent, you should not be giving out any of that information, where the talent is staying at, what hotel, what their pickup times are, who they are in general. And then also in the departments, when you're looking at like different people, don't circle people's names and be like, all right, this is my person of interest. Like, I'm going to hit him or her up or them up.
The call sheet is not a tool for your dating life. The call sheet, honestly, you should not share with anyone that is not a part of the production. And if another day player, a crew member is like, hey, can you send me the call sheet? Confirm it with your boss, because this may be somebody that they didn't send it to on purpose because they're not planning to bring them back. It's also very, very common if you're a day player not to get a call sheet. But what you should get is your call time, all of the location info. You should go ahead and ask for the hospital info, and you should ask for the safety bulletins and parking instructions.
Yeah.
Which is usually a map with where to park on it.
So I'm going to take a sip. Go.
Pause.
So, rule of thumb, when do you arrive? So say that your call time is at 8 o'clock in the morning. Do you show up at A, 8 o'clock in the morning, B, 8:05 in the morning, C, 9 o'clock in the morning, or D, 7:45, 7:30? Answer's D.
Always be early.
Yes.
And traffic is a thing. So know your traffic patterns. If you are in a location where you don't understand traffic patterns, like the day before, start looking at, sorry, I got a tea leaf right in the middle of my throat. Look at traffic patterns to know that like 8 a.m. is a terrible time to be driving to set in the city. It might benefit you and you might drive a lot less if you left at like 6:30. Go get a cup of coffee somewhere near set and then go over. Just pay attention to that, because sitting in your car is one of the most soul-sucking things. And you're like, I'm ready. I'm full of adrenaline and ready to go do this. And first day on set, and now we've got 2 hours in traffic.
Yeah, and then, there's so many different apps, like Waze takes into consideration traffic.
They help you plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, just in your regular general map section, could be Google Maps or, Apple Maps, whatever it might be, you could put in there an arrive by time, and you can pre-plan it the day before. So if I
And it
say,
adjusts in real time to traffic patterns.
yep, so I'll say like, hey, I want to arrive tomorrow at 7:30 in the morning, right? What is an ideal time for me to leave? And so it backs up your time. It says you should leave at 6:30 in the morning, because even though it's normally a 30-minute drive, at that time, typically it takes about an hour. So then you give yourself another half an hour buffer between 7:30 and 8, just in case there are any accidents, hiccups, anything like that. You give yourself a little bit of leeway. And then also, it's good to get to set and kind of decompress for a second, and then assess what is happening around you. Look over the call sheet again. What is the schedule going to be like? Make sure that you know who your direct supervisors are. And if you've never met them, this is your first day on set, this is a great point in time for you to go ahead and start introducing yourself, because once the day starts, everybody is going and they don't have time to sit down and answer your questions.
Typically, you'll hear over walkies and everybody, when you hit that general crew call time, you'll hear, we're in, call it out. And everybody, all the PAs call it out, we're in, which means like it's officially the start of the workday. Everybody should be there by then, pretty much. So I would also say on your first day, figuring out where crew parking is. You as a PA are typically going to park in crew parking unless you have been explicitly told to bring your car to set because they need you to pick something up and take it to the camera house for a swap or whatever. It is very possible you park in crew parking, you walk the half a mile to set, you get there and they're like, we'd really like you to get your car. And then you walk all the way back. The amount of times this has happened to me, I can't even tell you.
Why do you think my hand just went in my hands? It's just like,
I'm going to be a good producer today, and I'm not going to be the, terrible person that pulls up to set and is like, have a PA take it to crew parking, which is what a lot of people do. I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. Sometimes it can be. People abuse it. But I'm like, no, I'm going to park in crew parking. And then I go back and they're like, all right, cool. Suck it in.
it's just one of those
Breathe.
things.
Be like, I'm getting my steps in. Crew parking is typically not next to set. So you need to plan at least 10 minutes to make it from crew parking to wherever you're supposed to report to, whether that be set, whether that be base camp, etc.
Yeah, and so on the call sheet too, it'll have the parking information, and like you said, we'll have a map. But make sure you look at it, because it might just be general parking or the location information, and then underneath it might say like, this is where the crew parking is going to be.
Or it might not say that, and you get there and there are crew parking signs that you now have to follow.
And that's the other thing too. So when you're looking for parking, especially on larger budget films, they're always going to have your crew signs, even on smaller ones. Like I've done like 10-person shoots before.
Oh yeah.
And we've put up those signs because
I mean, I used to have location signs in my garage, and we used them for short film. Like we use them for everything, just because we wanted people to know where to go.
I typically, like in your trunk where you have a little latch underneath, and like usually a spare tire.
Yeah.
I usually carry a couple signs
I
in there. So transportation, transpo, you can call it either one. But
on the bottom of your call sheet on the back, you should have your walkie channels, and transpo would be one of them.
yeah, and this way you can see like it might say on the call sheet too, shuttle service running every 10 minutes. There might be those miscellaneous kinds of notes. So, you might be parking 2 miles away because it's the largest area where they can hold as many cars, and they'll just run these shuttles through, dropping people on and off. So take into consideration that, as you had mentioned, because then you might want to show up at 7:15 for an 8 o'clock call, because those shuttles are only running every 30 minutes.
That is networking time. Like you're not getting paid for that time. Your pay starts at your call time.
Yeah.
So think about it as networking. You meet the people you're in the van with. It might be the only time you ever talk to the dolly grip, but you can make them laugh, or like you're getting FaceTime with different people that again can hire you in the future.
There's a running joke with my friends is that taxi, car, van, elevator time is time for me to practice my stand-up routines. And they're not actual stand-up routines. It's just that's who I am as a person. They're like, oh, you did an excellent set today, Brandon, in a van. Like, I'm not doing a set. It's just me.
I always sit up front with the Teamsters and catch up on them, because they're always like listening to something or reading something or whatnot. And it's always very interesting to me. But
so transportation, your own vehicle. So if you're going to set and something happens to you, say that you break down or whatever it might be. Obviously, if you have AAA, go ahead and call them. But sometimes you can call up, look at your call sheet and look for the Teamster numbers, and they might be able to have something.
If you're plus to set. So first thing, if something happens, and I say this happens often, like there are some shows that are just auto cursed, and I don't know how to explain it, but they will have 20 car wrecks that the office is processing insurance on and whatnot. If you're in a car wreck on your first day, first off, like, take care of yourself. That is the most important thing. As you have capacity, let your direct supervisor know. If you don't have a direct, like a KPA number, respond to the call sheet, let them know, call the number on the bottom of the call sheet, let them know where you are, what has happened, that you're going to be delayed. Like, if you're in a public space, police have to come. If you're in a private space, it kind of depends. Like, the rules in each city and county are different, but if that caused a delay, it is something that does happen. There was one day on set where myself, our stand-in, and our actor all got flat tires on the way to set from different, like, it's not like we were driving over the same, like, glass or nails or anything. Like, we were all in different miles apart, but all three of us got shut down. And and so it delayed all of us because we didn't have Teamsters to come drive, and find us miles away on the interstate. But I had a dead battery one time when I was on a TV show, and I was a guest. I was following a producer around, and I had a flat tire, and I just called the office and was like, hey, could y'all let Transpo know that I'm stuck in XYZ parking lot and I have a flat tire, and see if they have the patch kit that they can come out with. 10 minutes later, I had 3 guys out there patch my car and was on my way. Like, it cost me nothing because that's what they do.
Yeah.
I'm literally mechanics.
Yeah.
So
I forgot. That actually just happened to me last year. We were caravanning from the hotel, and I was driving my specific car instead of riding in the crew vans, which we all typically just rode in from the hotel. It's just easier that way. But I knew that there were going to be some runs that we would need to go do. And since we all traveled together in the vans and I traveled separately in my car, that was just the available one, because it's easier than driving a 15-pass van going from one place to the other for parking reasons. Just as I was pulling out of the hotel, I was the first one to leave. Pulling out of the hotel, I hit a pothole so bad that it busted my tire. And then so I pulled in off the road into this little parking area in front of all of these like restaurants and stuff. And then the people that were in the 15-pass vans were honking at me and waving, like thinking Brandon's going to go get some breakfast or something like that. Well, then I'm like, oh my goodness, I don't even know what to do because I just got a flat tire. I'm supposed to be at this location. And so, because I was the supervising field producer for the day, and then I saw the last van started to come. I tried to get a phone and like call somebody, but it was too quick. So I run out to the middle of the street. I'm like,
maybe Java in the middle of the street.
But they knew who I was. So then they were like, oh, that happened to your car? And I'm like, yeah, I need to get this taken care of. They were like, don't worry about it. So the UPM said, just give me your keys. You go to set. Mm-hmm. Give me your information, your, all of the stuff, and I will take care of it for you. And by the time we finished shooting the first scene, I had my car back. Tire was fixed. The UPN actually paid for it out of their pocket, and I reimbursed it. Now, see, that was on me because it was my car. Even though it happened during work hours, it was still my vehicle. If it had been one of the vehicles,
the bank, or something,
they would have paid more of it. But obviously there was some wear and tear on my tire, and that's on me. So we got to take care of. I showed up back at set, and everything was good. And another little tip for the call sheet too is when you get it, and it's your first day or whatever it is, I would then put into your phone the specific numbers that are on the call sheet, like the UPM, production coordinator, and your location department, and also whomever hired you, as well as your TPA or whoever it might be. But put those in your phone on day one or before day one.
Just for easy access.
Easy access, because just like Gabrielle said, you might be in a location where you can't get reception and you haven't done a screen grab of your phone, or you've done a screen grab and you have to zoom in with your thumbs, and then you're like, all right, the number is 7062. Wait, I have to go back again. And you go back, and then the number gets erased, and then it just becomes problematic. So just program it into your
It's a great night before, like, part of your ritual to get ready. So what happens if you get lost on your way to set, and like real lost?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's two things. One, if you get super duper lost and you don't have any cell reception, here's a good tip. Go backwards. Go back the way that you came. Try to remember that until you get to a point where you have cell service or whatever it might be. And then you would run down the list of the different people that you would call. So the first person that you would call, I say, would be the location department.
Yes, which is typically the number traditionally is put on the location maps. So you'll see in your call sheet, also take a picture of the maps, or not in the call sheet. Attached to the call sheet email is typically a map. It shows set, it shows base camp, parking, all of those things, and you will have the location manager's contact information. That is the first person you call. They probably get, especially on a first day, 20 calls, needing them to walk people in, and that is what they are doing. That is what they are there for.
Sometimes also it might say on there to call the assistant location manager, because the location manager may be
if they have
busy.
It could be a location's PA that they have you call that is very comfortable with like walking you in. One of the things they'll do is find where you are. Like, can you drop a pin and send it to them? If not, like, can you click on it and tell them the actual like longitude and latitude? They'll put it in on their end and be able to like walk you step by step there. A lot of places we film are out in the middle of nowhere, and one wrong turn and you're up a mountain and end up on the top of the mountain, and there's a farmer with a shotgun standing there saying, this is not set, and you just leave and have to figure it out from there. So that didn't happen to me or anything, obviously.
Yeah.
No, but like it happens quite a bit because you are in just very distant and far out locations for filming.
Yeah, I mean, one time we were filming in South Florida, and I was driving and I was like, this can't be the right location because I'm literally in the Everglades and in the swamp. And if I turn here, I'm going to literally go like run into an alligator. And it turns out that was actually the location. So it could surprise you. So that's why just like looking at the location map is important, because it'll give you an idea like where it might be, because the address that is given sometimes is the closest address possible to the location. Sometimes these locations are really remote.
Yeah.
So make sure that if you're having any troubles, call up the location department. That's the first one. If you can't get a hold of anybody in the location department, then you would call people within production. So that would be your production coordinators, your UPM. Avoid calling the AD.
The first AD.
Yes. And I think that if you go past the UPM, all the production coordinators, if you can't get a hold of them, then, try your luck with maybe, I guess, one of your but you should have already called your fellow PAs by the time.
You should start at the bottom and call up mostly, meaning that whoever hired you should know. You should try locations because they're going to be able to help you if you're lost. And from there, ask if you can't get in touch with people, start texting people. Like if there's group chats that you're in, hey guys, lost at so-and-so, who should I talk to? Can anyone call me? Etc. Like keep it brief, but let them know. And another on the opposite point, when you get the call sheet or you don't get a call sheet, make sure that the person hiring you and any of the information that they have is correct so that they can get in touch with you and they can save your number and know that when you're calling, like, this is one of my people.
Yep. Okay, so say that you get an email or sometimes a text message. I've gotten call sheets via text message before. But say you get an email or text message and it says update and your call sheet looks a different color. It's blue. What does that mean?
So colors are for revisions, and that's not just for call sheets. That's for scripts. That's for schedules. That's for budgets. Everything across the board. We have a handy little handout for you to show you the typical call sheet colors. There are some studios that do it a little different. If they do it different, it will be up on the wall in front of a copier somewhere. You will see it. But Blue is the first revision color. And so if you get a blue call sheet, it means that something has changed in the day in what you're filming. That might be a scene. It might be that a cast member is stuck at the airport and you're not going to be able to film with them that day and they've had to flip-flop all of the things. That is now your new Bible that you go by for that day. The previous one does not matter and does not apply. So it might update call times. You look at everything again as if it's a new document.
A lot of times in the body of the email or text message, you'll get the call sheet. It'll call out what has changed. So it's like perhaps like the location address was wrong in the previous version. And so it's just to let everybody know, hey, listen, like this is a change in the address just so that nobody gets lost. Or it might be like, hey, our entire schedule has changed. Look at this over. These people are no longer coming today, et cetera, et cetera.
Typically, if they issue a blue, it's a decent size change. If it's just like something in the body of the email, they will send a new email with the same call sheet attached. Still look at it to confirm. But if it's gone blue, something is significantly different.
Yeah. And then if it goes pink, that's a second revision. And then after pink, you have yellow, then green, then gold, and then the numbers change.
That doesn't typically happen on call sheet.
Yes.
On call sheet specifically.
Scripts are another situation.
Scripts go through all of
you end up going through all the colors. You end up going to double. So it becomes double white. So you go back to the start. So it's white, blue, then you have pink, yellow, green, but it'll be double blue, double pink, double yellow, that kind of thing. And then even if they go through all that, you go to triple. So like, this is just so that you familiarize yourself with the terminology. If somebody says
a handout,
if the call sheet goes blue, there's a major revision. So pay attention to that and take note.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. I don't think that there's, oh, yes. So one of the final thoughts about all of this is what you do with the call sheet, especially if you have a printed out version. You have this piece of information that has proprietary information on it. What do you do with that printout that you've been given?
It should be destroyed. Like typically sometimes production, like the ADs and whatnot, will have like a specific trash can and it'll go back to the production office to be shredded because it, again, has private information on it. If you see them lying around, you should pick them up and take them. They should be thrown away. Tear them up and throw them away so that they cannot be put back together by, I don't know.
If they have a shredder, use the shredder.
Yeah. You do take pictures of them, especially if you think that you consider, like you want to go into DGA, like you want to work your way up. In DGA, you will need copies of these call sheets as proof of your days. So you will need to keep a record of. If this is one of the things that you're interested in working your way up on the AD track to being DGA, then, which is the Directors Guild, you take the digital call sheet, save it to a folder, log the day, make sure you have it so that when you go to build your book of your like 600 days that you need to get in the DGA, you already have all of that work and you don't have to go back because it will take you a month. Ask all DGA NADs. It is a massive undertaking. So saving it, but realize that that is proprietary information that you have been given for this shoot only. It is not something to be shared. It's not something to be sent around to your friends. That is private, that was given to you and not to anyone else.
Yes. And so say that you don't get an electronic version because no, it's 1985 and you only have the paper version. And that's, what you need to have to get into DGA or some kind of proof. But you can always ask your UPM, your coordinators, to see if it's okay to actually keep the paper, because on smaller shoots, they might have they say, yeah, go ahead and keep it, file it away, but make sure that nobody has access to it because, again, it's proprietary information. So ask before you keep, but the rule of thumb is dispose of it the proper way before the end of the day so that nobody steals the information.
Yeah. Another note is if you are going for DGA and you are not on the call sheet because you're a day player, you can ask the office whenever they have time to retroactively add you to that call sheet template because the DGA is going to need your name on the call sheet, on the back of the call sheet in order to count that as a day. So that can be a note. And they're lovely little free scanner apps where you could scan it as a PDF and have that file once you get permission, so you can save it for your logs.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts about call sheets?
It's my favorite production document.
Yeah.
Second AD spends so much time working on it. And it is literally most of their day building this, adjusting times, adjusting schedules and whatnot. And I just am always I love to praise them for that. And I would put them up on my wall for the whole shoot because it's a work of art. It is a lot of logistics put together in a 2-page document, and isn't that a beauty?
Yeah. If you've ever worked in any capacity doing scheduling, whether it's, scheduling workers at a restaurant or, just people that are doing shifts, it is a massive undertaking. But then you look at the size of some of these production shoots, you're having 150, 200 people that you're having to move around like puzzle pieces to fit it in perfectly. It is an art form to be able to do a great call sheet. And it's even more artistically enabled capabilities when you have a last minute revision and you know how to manipulate that call sheet and fix the schedule, move everything around in a timely manner. Those people are very, very valuable.
And complimenting a second AD on their call sheet, it always lands. Always.
Yeah. Whenever I get compliments on my call sheets, I'm like, I did do that.
And I say second AD. Second AD is more in film and television. In reality, it typically is more who?
Yeah, it could be the coordinating producer, supervising field producer. Even the showrunners will sometimes do the call sheets. But typically it is the production manager or the production coordinator will start the call sheet. Production manager will then finish it up, send it to the supervising producer, who will then confirm it, and then it can be sent out to everybody. So it's the same thing, same process in film, reality TV, television, but they just have different names. But usually it's typically somebody like the second assistant director that will go ahead and start the schedule. First AD will look it over, take it over to the UPM, and also the line producer to make sure they can afford all the things that they're supposed to be doing.
And on that note, so one of the things, if you're a set PA, you may be asked to do is typically it happens right around lunch, is there will be a preliminary call sheet. They're yellow, and they'll be printed out and taken. You will be asked to distribute them, and they will typically go to your department heads and keys around set to review, look at the coming day, and then they will make notes, and either they will bring that back to the AD that is creating the call sheet for revisions. They may walk you in questions about, hey, I'm going to need a pre-call, which pre-call means I need them to start being paid earlier. They need to come in early before call time because we have 400,000 background coming today and I need all of my background costumers or something. I know. Things I don't love working with.
Yeah.
But anyway, so there will be a lot of back and forth throughout the kind of after lunch to the end of the shoot to get to the point of a call sheet that works for everyone. And you may be a part of that. Those yellow call sheets they either keep them, take notes, but then they should also be destroyed.
Yeah. I was told one time to treat the call sheet like you would treat your social security number. And that is, don't give out the information to anybody that you don't want to have it. And 2, don't leave it laying around because somebody could steal it and you can get in a lot of trouble.
Yeah. And if you don't know who to hand the yellow prelim call sheets out, ask the person that handed you the task and just say, I want to make sure that I'm only giving it to people that need this information. And they will appreciate that.
Yep.
That was what is a call sheet and how to read it. Up next, understanding NDAs and the 5 most used releases.